You know, it's interesting. It's interesting that we even got into the field of having a podcast because when we started one, I'd never met somebody who had ever had a podcast. I don't think I'd ever met somebody who had ever been on a podcast, even as a guest. And so it seemed like a bit of a stretch. And I think it was a combination of COVID lockdowns and time at home. We'd done some Facebook Lives and different things with business or in those environments, and Zoom was kind of taken off, and we kind of became obsessed with the idea at the beginning of 2021 really that somebody had to really grab the reins and tell better stories and to tell true stories. And our son really came to us and said, hey, we need to do this in a podcast format, and you guys are the ones to do it.
I think the big thing too was we were seeing our country, we were already awake, but we were realizing this country was not going to be the same for our granddaughter as it was for us, and it certainly wasn't the same for us as it was for our parents. And we just jumped on. We're like, we will do whatever it takes to save this country. And I think it really takes something like that where you see a grandchild or you see a child and think, I want to leave it better for them than it was for me. And so we want to be a part of the solution to make that happen.
Oh, man. Well, again, like I said, we had never been on a podcast, met somebody, so we began, Googling, Joe Rogan. He's done well with that. What equipment does he have? And you kind of look in on pictures and like, wow, that's expensive, can't afford that. And so, we were just taking 2x4s from Home Depot with heat lamps and clamping them to there and shining.
We even clamped them on the back of our chairs to shine some light behind us,
Because
they'd fall off all the time.
Our son at Google, like, hey, you need something called backlighting. And we're like, what's backlighting? Who's going to see my back? And we're like, okay, whatever. They say it's the thing to do. And so, we bought another heat lamp and to shine that. But just doing the best we could with what we had. But we were so much more focused on the stories, having great conversations. As a family, part of our family culture has always been long dinners, and stewarding long-term relationships with people you go deep with and that and so the idea of telling stories and finding out what people are really about was interesting to us. As it pertained to this world, it was just people who had expertise, knowledge in areas of politics, military intelligence, health, the prophetic, all these things that just kind of interested us personally, and we kind of found ourselves at the center of this hub and inviting these people in to just share everything that they knew. Selfishly, we enjoyed it, but we thought, hey, we'll share this with the world.
And I think a big thing for us too was that, we were waking up and we were seeing people around us wake up. But the problem was we didn't know what to do then. Now we're awake. Now what do we do with all of this frustration or fear? Where do we go with it? And so one of the things that we would do with our guests is, okay, now people are awake. What do they actually do to speak up and show up in their own community, in their own families, in their own states, in their own country? What do we do now with this knowledge that we've gained?
Yeah, giving people action points.
Yes.
We became obsessed with this idea of maybe from 2016, 17 throughout, the campaign leading into 2020, there were so many people in the conservative movement that just were on the edge of their seats. They were very big fans of the administration. They were fans of Donald Trump. They were ready for him to have 4 more years now to really finish, cleaning up the swamp, or, for him to do 80 million things to save our country. And, that's just not how anything really works well. Our country is going to be saved by 80 million Americans doing one thing each day to save their own country, not one person making the big shift. And I think that deflated balloon, when you're talking December, January going into 2021, is there was this sadness of, I thought this guy was going to do everything, and I think people are starting to look to their left and their right and think it's really going to be up to us. Maybe he has a good example, put a business to the side and serve the country, kind of like it's intended to be, not necessarily lifelong politicians, but regular people stepping up to do something. That became our big drive, is how many people can we put a dent? What could we do to help wake up 80 million people to do one thing positive in their home, in their neighborhood, on their street, in their town, in their community, on their school board? You be the solution for that pothole in your street and get activated and start showing up in some of these situations. And that's what drives really everything we do.
We were finding that conservative Christians, they had really buried their head in the sand. They had really taken themselves out of these 7 spheres of influence, whether it be education or media or government, in religion. And so for us, it was You know, we need the plumb line of Jesus in each one of these different spheres of influence. If we don't have him there, that's where we are today in so many of these areas. We are calling evil good and good evil. And that's why good people have to step up and their voices have to be heard. I think that's what it's going to take to save our country. I think Christians stepping up, because it's the plumb line of Jesus that actually will show you where you're going and put you on the right path. And so when people are like, will this country ever be what it used to be? It's going to be greater, I think. I believe that this is the best time to be alive. And we get to be alive during this time, and we are all like important pieces of a puzzle, and each one of us have to be heard. But it does start with, I believe, conservative Christians stepping up and taking those positions in these different spheres of influence.
The interesting thing about podcasting is we were interested in stories. You know, people that were doing the things that we wanted to highlight to draw attention to. So some of those people had great platforms. You know, they were already famous, they were highlighted, the world knew who they were, and so it drew a crowd. Some nobody had ever heard of. It was somebody that's kind of operating in obscurity, but they were doing great things just off of the public radar. So we're just, you know, pursuing the things that interested us and we thought were actionable, you know, for the masses. But then, you know, I mean, I don't know, Juan?
Yes, you want us to talk about Juan, right? Yeah.
You know, we began to be introduced to people that weren't famous to us, but had already gathered large followings in the conservative movement. And people who had stewarded an audience that they weren't the person you'd see on CNN or on Fox or even on mainstream media, but they had consistently delivered truthful messages about what was happening. They were researchers, they were studiers, people from different backgrounds of maybe military intelligence or different things. And one in particular wasn't somebody who we even personally knew well, but a friend had recommended, a guy named Juan Savin. And we're like, oh, you know, Juan Savin, it was a code name he used for his audience only, and he'd been speaking to people on radio shows and different things, you know, through, you know, different technologies and platforms in the past. And so we had been recording and posting and sharing and recording and posting and sharing. And I remember the first interview we did with him was on Inauguration Day of January
the 20th.
January the 20th. I think it was a sad day for a lot of people. Yeah. And it was and just maybe disillusioned. They're kind of every day waiting for something great to happen and crickets, and waiting something great to happen, and it's just crickets. And on that day, which we were kind of bummed, there was a lot of people that had really believed in where this was going. They were just disappointed. And we did this interview with Juan Savin on that particular day, and it was a hopeful message. It was a message about things that people didn't talk about, even about the history of DC and numbers and math and symbolism, and there's so much more going on that's kind of right underneath of our noses, and people just got to kind of wake up and take a little bit deeper look, one or 2 inches further, you know, maybe than you'd ever looked before. And we left that interview hopeful and encouraged that God's involved in a bigger way than we knew. There's more happening than we ever could have imagined, and even more shocked than anything is we began to see the numbers come in.
Oh my goodness. We woke up the next morning and it was like thousands. You don't understand, we had a YouTube channel of 1,700 and it was thousands of people had seen it. And then, you know, and then it was like 100,000 and then 200,000 and 300,000. It just kept growing. And our YouTube channel went from 1,700 to like 40,000, I think, like within like a week. I mean, it just grew.
We've been predominantly just on podcast platforms and doing a little bit, you know, with
well, it was all new for us.
With YouTube, and just, you know, every day was just a new day figuring this out. But I think what came into fruition there was a hopeful message that was delivered with sincerity, and on a very hungry audience, and it really rang true.
Okay. Did you know that MyPillow actually has way more than just pillows? I mean, of course, they have pillows, but they also have blankets, slippers, towels, travel pillows, dog blankets, mattresses, sheets, and even more pillows. So to check out all of the things that they have over there, go to Speropillow.com and you'll get 66% off of your order today. But make sure that you use the promo code Spero.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm excited to bring you my biggest bedding sale ever, just in time for Christmas. Get my Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases, only $9.98. Rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. We also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. We even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all at the biggest discounts ever. I know my bedding products are perfect for you, and I'm extending my money-back guarantee for Christmas until March 1st, 2023, making them the perfect gifts for your friends, your family, and everyone you know. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen, use your promo code, and you'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including my Giza Dream bed sheets, for as low as $29.98. Get all your shopping done now while quantities last.